So that guy I met on eHarmony? Yeah. We're out together last night and I step off a curb and snap, heel breaks right off my shoe.
Oh no.
So I say, hell with it, take them off so I'm barefoot, and you'll never guess.
What?
He leans over, takes off his shoes and socks, and now we're both...
You're joking.
Amazing, right?
At eHarmony, you'll find someone you can be yourself with. Get who gets you on eHarmony. Sign up for eHarmony today. So that girl I met on eHarmony. Yeah. We're out to dinner last night, and like a klutz, I tipped my drink all over myself. Oh, no. And it's all down my shirt, a horrible stain, so embarrassing. And you'll never guess.
What?
She smiles, picks up her drink, spills it all over her top. So now we're...
No way.
Amazing, right?
At eHarmony, you'll find someone you can be yourself with. Get who gets you on eHarmony. Sign up for eHarmony today.
Isn't it so great that we live in a world with so many conveniences? And things are even way more convenient now than just a few years ago when we were kids. We can do all of our daily activities of life without any discomfort. Pretty much everything is available with the touch of a button. Most of it almost instantaneously. Everything convenient makes our lives better, right? You're listening to the Health Courage Collective podcast, episode 145. Convenience and greatness cannot coexist. Welcome to the Health Courage Collective podcast, the show for women who are too busy to slog through hours of generalized, inapplicable, and often contradictory health information, but too smart to ignore that a few minutes of focused attention now can prevent years of suffering in the future. I'm your host, Christina Hackett, a pharmacist who doesn't want you to live on prescriptions, a certified coach specifically trained to maximize your potential, and a compulsive learner obsessed with preventative, cutting-edge, holistic, and integrative medicine. I'm on a mission to increase your physical and mental resilience so you can fearlessly look forward to your next 40-plus limitless years. Your time is now. Let's go. Hello, and welcome to another episode. I'm so grateful you're here today. I hope you have had a great day. How are your electrons? Did you take off your shoes and stand directly on the earth? It's an easy and free way to connect to a powerful healing power that may make your life better. I think it's something that's very likely to help and will for sure not hurt. So, as an introvert, I enjoy answering questions about myself and thinking deeply and trying to uncover important things that I never realized before that could make my life better. So I got this workbook journal thing from Ramit Sethi. He has a Netflix show. Have you seen it? He's a financial planner. I've been going through answering the questions and thoroughly enjoying myself because that's my kind of thing. But I got to a question yesterday that was, what's one thing that you really want to buy but would never admit to? And my first thought was, well, nothing. I'm an open book and I don't secretly want to buy anything that I wouldn't freely admit to the whole world. Then I realized the answer. A puppy. I've never told anyone this before, so you're the first one. I for sure don't want to tell my kids because I'm afraid they'd be able to talk me into acting on it. I've never in my life had a dog or any desire to have a dog, but for the last year or so, I keep noticing people's dogs and which dogs are cute and well-behaved and the fun things they do, etc. There will sometimes be people on the side of the road with a sign that says, puppies, and I totally want to stop and buy one. I am instantly infatuated. I don't even know if you should buy a puppy from those side-of-the-road people, and I wouldn't have the first clue what to do with one or how to train it or anything. The point of all this is to say that I've been surprised to have become interested in getting a dog. I notice dogs way more than I ever have. I find them more charming than I ever have before. I even Googled whether French bulldogs make good pets once after seeing a 150-year-old lady on the side of the road with some French bulldog puppies. Oh my gosh, those puppies were about the cutest thing I've ever seen with their scrunched faces, big ears, and tiny stubby little legs. They were hopping all over like little bunnies. Anyway, I'm interested in puppies, but I haven't gotten one because I'm not committed to getting one. I like the idea of bonding with one, snuggling with one, interacting with one, watching their crazy antics, even having to take one for walks. But I am absolutely not willing to be inconvenienced by having to pick up their poop everywhere we go, having to get a babysitter every time we want to go on vacation, or running the risk that they'll scratch my furniture. or chew my shoes or pee on the floor or anything else that dogs might do. No way. Kenneth Blanchard teaches that there is a difference between interest and commitment. When you're interested in something, you only do it when it's convenient. When you're committed to something, you accept. No excuses, only results. What do you think? I definitely only want a dog when it's convenient. When I've got nothing else going on, the dog is clean, happy, healthy, and doesn't have to go to the bathroom. Could you be struggling because there are health outcomes that you want, but maybe you're only interested in creating them and not actually committed to them? Most of what's awesome about modern life has to do with convenience. So many brilliant minds have engineered products that make life so much more convenient. Have you ever heard of Frances Gabe? She was born in 1915 and is the inventor of the self-cleaning house, a house that fully cleans itself so no other housework is required. She lived in Oregon, and in 1983, she used her own money to secure U.S. patent number 4428085 for her invention, which she created all on her own. She hated housework and all of its inconveniences, so she invented her way out of it. Pretty fun. Her 1,000 square foot house near Portland took 10 years to build and was kind of like a giant dishwasher that you live inside of. I'll put a link to an article about her in the show notes because it's pretty fascinating. Her dirty clothes were hung on hangers and were washed and dried while still on the hangers and transported back by chain to her closet when they were done. The runoff from the wash cycle on her floors ran outside and was then used to wash her dog in his house. She died in 2016. She lived to be 101. There are so many conveniences that make life great. I recently got a new robot floor cleaner. It both vacuums and mops. I got it because the reviews said things like, "Don't think twice, buy this now, it will change your life." So I did, and they were not wrong. It's so good at what it does, which is a huge convenience for me. I also recently signed up for grocery home deliveries, and that's a game changer too. So much more convenient. And once we get used to all these conveniences, we get convenience creep. Comfort creep. Side note, if you Google convenience creep, you'll just get a bunch of YouTube videos of creepy guys in convenience stores. Convenience creep or comfort creep is when you've grown so used to a convenience that it just becomes normal and you can't live without it. You no longer think of it as a time-saving wonder that lets you get more podcasting done, but it's just a required part of normal life. In his awesome book that we talked all about in episode 99, Michael Easter says, when a new comfort is introduced, we adapt to it and our old comforts become unacceptable. Today's comfort is tomorrow's discomfort. This leads to a new level of what's considered comfortable. End quote. I don't think this is all bad, but it's also not all good. If we get to the point that we cannot be inconvenienced whatsoever, our life gets worse. In his book, Hidden Potential, Adam Grant talks about the popular practice in schools that arose as well-intentioned solution to a pervasive problem in American schools. For many decades, schools were run like assembly lines in a factory. Despite having different strengths, students were stuck absorbing knowledge through the same standardized lessons and lectures. In the 1970s, a new wave of thinking upended the world of education. The core premise was that when students struggle, it was because the method of instruction wasn't tailored to their learning style, the cognitive mode in which they were best at acquiring and retaining information. To grasp new concepts, auditory learners needed to hear them, visual learners needed to see them, and kinesthetic learners needed to touch them. This was revolutionary. Today, learning styles are a foundational part of teaching. 89% of teachers around the world believe that matching their instructions to a student's learning style is good. There's just one small problem with learning styles. They're a myth. There have been lots of studies that show that incorporating learning styles doesn't improve education. Adam Grant continues on to say, the contrast between the enormous popularity of the learning styles approach within education and the lack of credible evidence for its use is striking and disturbing. He explains that what we know now is that learning styles aren't fixed and that doing what's most comfortable and convenient for you can actually make you retain less information. Being forced to learn in a more uncomfortable and inconvenient way actually helps you retain more information. Like everything, you don't want to be enormously inconvenienced or uncomfortable, but fighting through some inconvenience makes you a better student. In his book, The Power of One More, Ed Mylett says that most of the blessings we have in life started out as inconveniences. Special memories, treasured possessions, the best relationships, physical abilities, unique skills. They all started with late nights working harder than you thought possible, morning sickness, hours in the gym followed by days of soreness every day for months on end, early meetings with professors, or hours of racking your brain and dejectedly staring at a blinking cursor. The right amount of inconvenience makes us better, and carefully selected inconveniences give us life's greatest blessings. Hey, I wanted to briefly interrupt to ask if you're curious about female bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, the kind that's usually started around the time of perimenopause. What it is, what it does, how it works, what it's like. If so, you should check out my Udemy course called The Basics of Female Bioidentical Hormone Replacement Therapy. The course goes over the pros and cons of using hormone treatment, which hormones are usually included with BHRT, how they're used, the lab tests that are used, some tips for finding a prescriber in pharmacy to work with, and how to develop a rough estimate of how much BHRT will cost you. If you've been wondering whether bioidentical hormone replacement therapy is right for you, it's time to close that open loop, stop wondering, and move forward with confidence. Enroll in my course today. As a listener of the podcast, you can get a special discount for the very best price. It's a no-brainer. I would just tell you the coupon code, but Udemy makes me change it every month. So check the show notes or go to www.healthcouragecollective.com/Udemy to find the special podcast listener discount code that's only for awesome people like you. Okay, back to the episode. Ed Mylett says that convenience and greatness cannot coexist. They are diametrically opposed forces. So if you are striving for greatness in any area of life, you cannot get there by opting for the most convenient path. I think this goes back to being truly committed to something versus being interested in something. Inconvenience is the path to greatness. But while I believe this to be true, and Ed Mylett's results speak for themselves, he's worth around $400 million and was named as a top 50 wealthiest people under 50 years old, I don't think our lives would be better if everything we ever did was more inconvenient. So then we need to go about deciding which inconveniences will make us great and which conveniences will make our lives better. How might we do that? I've read this quote at least twice on the podcast before, but it's one of my all-time favorites, so I'm saying it again. This is from Joe DeSena, founder of Spartan Race. I know the truth. Everything is hard. Life is hard. Health is hard. Burpees are hard. Eating right is hard. Honesty is hard. Integrity is hard. Changing habits is hard. Parenting is hard. Because my job puts me in such close contact with people who are desperate to transform their lives, I also have the unique privilege of seeing what else is hard. Obesity is hard. Depression and anxiety are hard. Complacency is hard. Mediocrity is hard. I tell everyone, choose your hard. End quote. It's so good because it's so true. Inconvenience is hard. True commitment is hard. But mediocrity is hard. Non-commitment is hard. Letting yourself down is hard. So choose your hard. I think this applies to our little thought experiment of the day because it gives us a scaffolding to make good connections about which inconveniences are making our life better and which are not. Let's say you have a list of inconveniences to choose from. You can take sitting stuck in traffic for 40 minutes every day, spending 45 minutes a week picking up heavy things, spending an hour a week wandering through the aisles of the grocery store, sitting down for 20 minutes a week and forcing yourself to make a plan for what you will eat for lunch every day, eating what you had planned when something else sounds way more enjoyable in the moment, spending 30 minutes a week vacuuming and mopping your floors, picking a flight with 2 layovers over a direct flight, missing the next episode of your favorite show, and having to get all sweaty and then shower and change your clothes. Are all of those worth it? Inconvenience leads to greatness, right? Robert Fulghum once said, "Life is lumpy, and a lump in the oatmeal, a lump in the throat, and a lump in the breast are not the same lump. One should learn the difference." I think that goes nicely with choose your hard. Going back to our choose your inconvenient adventure list, Will opting for the convenience of an HOV lane pass or other way of avoiding traffic make your life worse in the long run? Will skipping the grocery checkout lines and getting home delivery instead make your life worse in the long run? Will getting a robot to clean your floors now make your life worse 10 years from now? All of those would have the immediate inconvenience of having to pay more money now, but they'll make your life way more convenient, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But what about being willing to pick up heavy things in the gym? That's uncomfortable and inconvenient. Much easier to stay home and scroll on your phone. Coming up with a plan of healthy foods to eat for lunch every day and then eating them, even when they don't sound very fun, is inconvenient. It'll be way easier to wing it and pick whatever's easy and sounds good at the time. Missing the next episode of your favorite show, especially when the last episode ended on a cliffhanger, is not enjoyable and it doesn't feel good. Isn't life meant to be enjoyed? Having to change your clothes and get all sweaty and then take a shower and change back is very inconvenient. I'm sure you can see that these are all matters of choose your hard. If you're willing to be inconvenienced by these things now, your life will be exponentially more convenient in the future when you can still do the things you want to do without having to rely on someone else to help you, when you're less fragile and less likely to get injured, when you don't have to take a bunch of pills to manage your metabolic and cardiovascular conditions and spend all of your time in doctors' waiting rooms and in line at the pharmacy, when your risk of all diseases is much lower than normal, and when you have plenty of energy to do all the things that make your life fun, are more effective at work, more insightful, and better able to contribute to the world. I think the best kept secret about these kind of inconveniences, what I work hard with my clients to establish, and as far as I know, nobody else really focuses on like I do, is that you can deliberately work to make them your most enjoyable and pleasant option. You can learn to love the inconvenient choice. You'll be choosing the hard thing now that makes your future easier, but you'll love it while you do it. What? So then you'll love your life now and in the future. The catch is that the future will still be hard, but since you're the one choosing the hard instead of the difficulties of being at very high risk for sarcopenia, chronic pain, a stroke, or dementia, your difficulties might be raising enough capital to open a public school in a third world country, getting female inmates to recognize their own inherent God-given value, or what to do with all the vegetables growing in your amazing organic garden. Choose your hard. Strategically choose your inconvenience. One thing Ed Mylett suggests is to change the way you attack your daily to-do list to prioritize inconvenience. He says if you choose to do all the easy stuff first and then celebrate all you've accomplished, you're celebrating being average and ordinary. But if you force yourself to always do the most inconvenient thing first, you'll separate yourself from everyone else. This is totally like Brian Tracy's advice about eating frogs. He has a whole book called Eat That Frog about picking the ugliest, most unappealing task and doing that one first. It's based on a quote from Mark Twain that I think was later determined to not have actually been said by Mark Twain. Eat a live frog first thing in the morning and nothing worse will happen to you for the rest of the day. Also, if you have to eat 2 frogs, eat the biggest one first. The point is that doing a bunch of easy and convenient things doesn't create greatness. Not only does it not get you the abnormal results that you want, it doesn't inspire you or help you see your true potential. If you want to be great at something, you have to commit to doing inconvenient things to show yourself that you've got it in you more than anything. What inconveniences will make your life better? You can choose whether saving the money on a flight with 2 layovers is worth it to you, or if the inconvenience of having to pay more money is worth the time saved with a direct flight. Francis Gabe's house in Oregon was very convenient in that it completely cleaned itself. But the trade-off was that it didn't look especially comfortable to live in and it wasn't pretty at all. Basically just painted cinder block walls with items on racks everywhere. And all items and furniture had to be able to withstand a rinse cycle. It was a convenience trade-off that was worth it to her. What convenience trade-offs are worth it to you? I think there's a lot of power in just realizing that most conveniences are a trade-off. More money now for less time spent in traffic later. Quick and tasty dinner on the way home now for chronic inflammation and trouble with cellular energy production later. Easy or no workout now for limited mobility later. Relationships of convenience are not usually deeply satisfying ones. Faith centered on convenience doesn't inspire and give meaning to your life. Going with the flow and hoping for the best is a convenient way to age. You'll be like most people. Doing what most people do won't produce the outcome you hope to create in your later years. It's inconvenient to live otherwise, to spend time and energy that you could have spent working now, figuring out exactly what is most likely to take away your time and energy in the future, and creating an intelligent plan that will inconvenience you now so that you're able to create greatness later. I'm here to help you do exactly that. I know that the future needs your wisdom and contribution, and that greatness and convenience cannot coexist. It's up to you to decide how much and what kind of inconveniences you're willing to tolerate now to get the future that you want. And you have to know precisely what you want, which most people don't. If you don't know what you want, any road will get you there, and all conveniences are good. If you want your future to be different than most people's, send me a message at healthcouragecollective@gmail.com or come on over to my website, www.healthcouragecollective.com, and get started with one of my free resources. Your future self will thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen today. What are you hoping is in store for you in the future? Now's the time to lay the groundwork to make that possible. The good news is that as a woman, and possibly an aunt or godmother or mom, you're very good at being inconvenienced. You've had lots of practice, so you're already warmed up to create a phenomenal future for yourself. You've got this. Next week, we're going to talk about how to know which health advice to ignore and which plans to invest your energy in. Until then, pick a strategic inconvenience you're willing to tolerate to be able to create greatness. And don't be normal. Thank you so much for tuning into the Health Courage Collective podcast. I am truly honored that you have paid me the enormous compliment of your time and attention. I would be so grateful if you would share this podcast with someone you know and subscribe so you never miss an episode. This podcast is for entertainment and information purposes only. Statements and views on this podcast are not medical advice. This podcast, including Christina Hackett and producers, disclaim responsibility for any possible adverse events by use of information contained herein. If you think you have a medical problem, consult a licensed physician.